Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, November 28, 2012. 29 people have survived a jet airplane crash in Southeast Africa this morning. The plane was an Embraer 120ER turboprop. It took off from the capital of the Comoros Island chain. The capital is Moroni, about 200 miles away from the airport out over the Indian Ocean. It decided to return back to the airport. An individual on board who was a Comoran military officer said that the plane's fuel was leaking like an open tap upon takeoff. He then decided to take it upon himself to notify the pilot, who then decided to return to the airport. He was, however, 200 miles out. The plane crashed, was unable to land in time, and landed in the Indian Ocean. Fishermen appeared to have led the search and rescue operation, and all 29 people survived. 3 years ago, off the Comoros Islands, an Airbus 310 from Yemeni Air crashed and killed all 152 people on board. Well, more sandy fallout. Swiss Re is defending the CAT modelers for the uncertainty and the wide variations in loss estimates. Swiss Re is instead blaming substandard exposure data for U.S. flood and storm surge. According to Swiss Re's Group Chief Underwriting Officer Matthias Weber, the exposure data relating to flood and storm surge is not as reliable as the data on U.S. quake and windstorm. Swiss Re, of course, said yesterday they expect to take a $900 million hit in regards to the Sandy insured loss in the United States. The underwriter said it's got nothing to do with the model itself. If what you feed into the model is not great to begin with, then you, of course, cannot get good results out of the model. Mr. Weber told the audience that the complexity of insured losses stemming from Sandy was also exacerbated by above-average contribution from business interruption as well as storm surge. He said aggregated risk has also made everything worse. Aggregated risk meaning multiple lines of business insured in one specific geographic area. Willis CEO John Cavanaugh said that good old-fashioned aggregate management should be maintained alongside reliance on models. He said that although models have brought sophistication to the risk equation, they are not the be-all and end-all. Weber agreed, stressing the importance of understanding what the aggregated risk is like in a geographic area. He said, "A fool with a tool is still a fool." Believe me, those losses are going to continue to mount, the business interruption losses. In the United States, major tobacco companies who spent decades denying that they lied to the American public about the dangers of cigarettes have now been ordered by a federal judge to spend their own money on a public advertising campaign saying that they did lie. The U.S. District Judge Gladys Kessler wrote that the new advertising campaign would be an appropriate counterweight to the tobacco company's past deception dating back to at least 1964. The advertisements are to be published in various media for the next 2 years. The judge's ruling, which the companies might try to appeal against, aimed to finalize the wording of 5 different statements that the companies are going to be required to use. One of them started by saying smoking kills an average of 1,200 Americans every day. Another one starts by saying a federal court has ruled that the defendant tobacco companies deliberately deceived the American public by falsely selling and advertising low-tar and light cigarettes as less harmful than regular cigarettes. The wording was applauded by health advocates who have waited for years for something like this. Well, you knew this was going to happen. An investor in Hewlett-Packard has filed a shareholder class action suit accusing HP and its board of making false and misleading statements regarding the finances of Autonomy Corporation, the UK-based software manufacturer HP acquired last year for $11 billion plus. They just took an $8.8 billion write-down on it and accused Autonomy of fraudulent practices and outright deception. One wonders where the due diligence was at HP before they purchased the company. This is likely to be the first shot fired in an increasingly acrimonious legal battle that will undoubtedly result in claims to management liability insurers. Swiss Re, based of course in Switzerland, and Roche Pharmaceuticals, also based in Switzerland, have come up with a new insurance product that could result in millions of Chinese citizens receiving cancer treatment they could not otherwise afford. Roche is the world's biggest maker of cancer drugs. Swiss Re estimates that the new product will be bought by 10 million Chinese citizens in their first year alone. About 2 million people a year die in China from cancer every year. Swiss Re says that the product, if successful, could be rolled out for other critical illnesses such as diabetes, which is another big problem in China. In an effort to combat zero interest rates, the insurance industry has indicated that it will allocate some of its money into infrastructure bonds. Swiss Re is going to put $500 million of its vast portfolio into infrastructure debt. The company said that this offers an alternative for long-term investments, such as government bonds, where yields have been very low recently. No kidding. Most of the investment on the infrastructure is going to go initially into Northern Europe. It's not a great deal of money, $500 million. Swiss Re has a $142 billion portfolio. We talked yesterday about the tragic fire in Bangladesh that killed probably about 125 people at the garment factory, and we spoke about how globalization had spread the effects of that around the world. The Associated Press had a reporter who managed to get into the charred ruins yesterday. The reporter spotted that at the Tazreen Fashions Limited factory, which was the site of the fire, he spotted red and off-white children's shorts bearing Wal-Mart's Faded Glory brand. He saw clothes from hip-hop star Sean Combs' ENYCE label. He also noted sweaters and other clothes from the French company Teddy Smith. He also found entries in account books indicating that the factory took orders to produce clothes for Disney, Sears, and other Western brands. Garments and documents left behind at the factory show that it was used by a host of major American and European retailers, although at least one of them so far has indicated that they were in fact aware of safety problems at the factory. Wal-Mart said that they're blaming a supplier for supplying products to them from Tazreen Fashions without its knowledge. The fires elevated growing awareness among labor groups, retailers, and governments about the problems in Bangladesh and in Pakistan for the production of clothes that end up on very costly high-end racks in New York and Los Angeles department stores. They're made for only a few cents a day by workers basically in slavery in places that don't have adequate safety conditions, and all too often the tragic events of the weekend are what occurs. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.